One of the big questions is,
what is money?
For practical purposes, it exists in a series of heterogeneous databases, very different databases.
do you believe in crypto?
Digital currency may be an answer, but it is the highly speculative asset.
I do own Bitcoin.
There is no second best.
Welcome to the Crypto Curious podcast, your weekly crypto crash course. Every Wednesday, join us in the dynamic world of cryptocurrency as we cover everything from major news stories to short, sharp news bites. If you're new to crypto, we recommend starting with our early episodes where we break down the basics and give you a solid foundation to understand the crypto world. Tune in, laugh and learn. It's crypto made easy. This week on the show, Debanking Operation Chokepoint 2.0 is targeting crypto founders cutting off financial access without warning. XRP's wild ride. Ripple is back, soaring 428% in 30 days and hitting 7-year highs. Justin Sun's $6.2 million snack, a banana duct-taped to a wall, becomes a $6.2 million spectacle. And NFTs, are they making a comeback? The blue chip collections are surging, but Nike has retreated from Web3. My name's Tracy, and I'm here to bring you all the crypto bull market news with my pals, Blake and Craig. How are you going, guys?
Good, Trace. How are you?
Very well, Craig.
What a funny week in the cryptoverse. Ripple has caught everyone off guard. No, not one person I know owns it except my friend who has been asking about it for 2 years. What do you think about it? What do you think about this? And now he's outperformed everyone. So unbelievable stuff.
We will get into that one. It has been a wild week. It feels like we say that every week, though. There's been a lot going on. But look, we have got a lot to cover in what I think is going to be a big episode. So stay with us for this one, folks. Let's go. Before we do dive into that big story, which is XRP and Ripple, I want to kick things off with another pretty big story this week and something that strikes at the heart of what crypto was created to challenge, the issue of debanking. This story highlights a troubling practice where financial services are cut off without warning, leaving businesses and individuals powerless. It's a reminder of why decentralization matters and why this space continues to fight for these financial freedoms that we're all talking about. So let's break this down really quickly, Blake.
Yeah, that's right. The term debanking refers to financial institutions like banks and payment processors and companies like PayPal and Wise cutting off the ability for people to buy and sell cryptocurrency and for crypto businesses to operate. Now, there was a recent interview of Mark Andreessen, who's the co-founder of one of the largest investment firms in Silicon Valley focused on digital currencies. And he was on the Joe Rogan Experience, and he said that he personally knows over 30 tech founders that have been debanked. And this has been dubbed Operation Chokepoint 2.0. And we've talked about this before on the show, but this is a major problem, and it's not just in the US. It's a global phenomenon. It happens here every day in Australia. If you mention crypto in your transaction description, if there's crypto in your business name, if you're dealing with any sort of business that operates with digital currencies, you're at risk of being debanked. Just at a roundtable discussing this last week, talking through ways of mitigating this and why this happens. And there seems to be some sort of political imperative, particularly in the US, but I suggest that it's not just a political motive, it's an anti-competitive behavior from the banking sector.
Yeah, and just if you hear a clip, I think Elon Musk actually posted a little snippet of the clip on the podcast, and Joe Rogan was like he couldn't believe it. The Coinbase CEO came out, he said it's one of the most unethical and un-American things that happened in the Biden administration. Why? That's my question. Like, when I read this story, I'm just like, why would they want to stop innovation and make it harder for these tech founders?
There's so many reasons. And firstly, it's perceived risk. Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies have had a stigma of being used for money laundering. And of course, that has been a use case of digital assets, but that happens through paper money and through other means as well. Secondly, it's anti-competitive behavior. And just to highlight a simple example here, when we use USDT, instead of the local banks here in Australia receiving the deposits for those money and be able to re-lend that on in a fractional reserve system and then generate revenue from that, basically circled the company that underpins the USDC stablecoin, holds all those coins, and therefore takes away the revenue from the big banks here. There's all sorts of other political reasons, like we mentioned, and really the lack of regulation as well. So regulation is really hard to catch up in the crypto industry because it moves so quickly and regulators move very slowly.
I suspect after these last 4 years and obviously Trump coming in, like there's going to be an inquiry about what's just happened in the digital asset space. And I think there's going to be more stories like this coming out. Like I know some projects have actually sued Gary Gensler.
There was actually a really interesting story. So Meta obviously tried to get Libra off the ground, and the guy came out after Brian Armstrong came out. He came and did a big post on Twitter saying, look, we haven't talked about this either, but we spent 2 years going back and forward trying to do this the right way with regulation. In the end, we couldn't get it off the ground as well, but they didn't bother to talk about this until it's come to light in the last week. But I wanted to ask, like, do you think the Trump administration coming in will really make a difference, or is it going to take time?
I actually don't think it's going to make a difference. I think this is not just politically motivated, it's also anti-competitive from the financial institutions. There was obviously a bad reputation after the FTX fallout 2 years ago or 2.5 years ago. And as a result of that, banks said, we don't want to be associated with the risk of this. We can make money regardless of banking this industry, and they can go elsewhere. And then as a result, these crypto firms go to tier 2, tier 3 institutions. We've seen what can happen there with the failure of Signature Bank and Silicon Valley Bank and others.
Well, I don't know, Blake. I'll challenge that to see if that still happens, because if he actually creates the crypto committee that's being rumored and he has Brian Armstrong, Andreessen and Charles Hosky, they're all on there, this issue still stays on. It's going to be an issue that's brought up.
But it's not clear how much power they have, and particularly how much power over the banks they're going to have. This is a committee that's going to be in place for 4 years.
Yeah, okay. Well, look, let's round it out there. But I guess this story does cut to the core of what crypto is trying to solve right now. Like we've just said, we're trying to push for freedom from centralised control. And if the governments are weaponising financial systems to silence an industry like ours, then it's a wake-up call for all of us. We need to really keep on our toes. This is a story that we will closely follow, folks. Let's move on now to our second story, which is XRP, the most talked about coin of the moment, XRP or Ripple. Love it or hate it, XRP has had a massive comeback and it's hitting prices we haven't seen in nearly 7 years. Over the past month, XRP has skyrocketed, reaching $2.71, its highest price since January 2018. That's a massive 428% gain in just 30 days. The XRP army is abuzz with optimism. With all the additional good news coming out of the US, this could finally bring some regulatory clarity and maybe even pave the way for an XRP ETF, which I think they're all very excited about, Craig.
Yeah, I think we've all owned a bit of Ripple at some point in our lives. And I guess this is like kind of a story around XRP capturing the narrative of being actually going to overtake the bank. So the whole reason for this pump lately is because Ripple are releasing their own stablecoin. And they think that since Ripple has close ties to the Trump administration and in the government, that their new stablecoin RUSD will actually be granted the right approvals to hopefully take on the SWIFT payment network. Now, if we don't know what the SWIFT payment network is, that's essentially a digital payment network that countries use to settle large payments. Would you say that's right, Blake, in simplistic terms?
Yeah, it's interbank settlement cross borders.
Cross borders. And the whole narrative around Ripple is to try to take that on by being a cheaper, quicker, faster, more stable version of that in obviously as a cryptocurrency. This has also been coupled with Wisdom Tree, which is quite a large fund manager. They've joined Bitwise, 21 shares, and Canary Funds in applying for a fund that will give institutional investors access to XRP in an ETF format. So we've seen that with Bitcoin and Ethereum. And that's actually got more of a news cycle pickup versus the Solana one that we saw a few weeks ago. So all that coupled with the price increase and people just FOMOing in, like it's flipped Solana, it's flipped Tether, it's 4x in 30 days. It's just one of the great pumps I can remember. What do you think about what's happening, Blake?
Ripple is a project that's 12 years old now, and they've promised to be an interbank settlement layer to work with the banks, but I just really don't know how much adoption or how much market share from the Swift network they've actually taken. I would suggest to be less than 0.01%. I don't know what the market cap of Swift is, or even if they're publicly listed, but they've talked a big game. Obviously, the vision is hopefully they achieve that one day, but it's just really hard to understand from my perspective how much of that they've actually done over the last 12 years.
Yeah, so look, what's their all-time high? Their all-time high was 340 and the low went down to a little bit over 1 cent.
Also, it's probably worth mentioning as well, they've also got this, it's like a 4-year lawsuit with the SEC. It's been going for years, and that's heading its conclusion now with Gary Gensler stepping down. It's even more favourable outcomes for Ripple.
Which is why I think they're a bit frothy right now. They've got all these things going towards them. There's a bit of hype that's going on. But look, I want to now take a step back and look at why XRP is such a divisive cryptocurrency. It's adored by a lot of corporations and banks for its efficiency, but often shunned by the wider community because it really is a bit of a love and hate it here. So, Blake, do you want to give your opinion on why you think it's such a split?
Yeah, obviously it's centrally controlled organization with a CEO. It's not, the governance isn't distributed across the community. And that's quite different to some of the other projects like Ethereum, Bitcoin, and Solana's on its way there. As well as that, XRP have sold, particularly the founders and the organization have sold hundreds of millions, if not millions of dollars of their own token into the retail market, using them as exit liquidity. As well as that, I'm not really sure how many actual banks have replaced the XRP network instead of the Swift network, and I'm going to suggest that it's 0 to none. But of course, XRP has a very strong brand. They're great at marketing. The stuff that I see on social media is hard to watch. The stuff on social media is a little bit concerning, to say the least, but there are a strong community.
Yeah, I think Blake just touched on it then. It's got a cult-like following, and it's one of those coins where the smartest people I know in the space say to avoid Ripple for those reasons what Blake just said, but also it's like the IQ bell curve theory, like the normies and the thousands of investors where Ripple's their only coin. They just think this is going to replace the banks. The thesis is simple for them. And you know what? If they get an ETF and if they get the Ripple USD and they win the lawsuit, all of a sudden, the world looks a lot different for Ripple than what it did a month ago when it was at 50 cents and wasn't moving at all. So it's got 3 massive tailwinds.
But I don't think any of these things actually change the fundamentals of it, Craig. If you want to actually, they can do all these things and win all these things, but unless they're actually going to achieve their goal, I don't think it changes the fundamentals.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, look, to round it out, crypto natives like myself and Blake and Craig, we've been in this space for many years now, and we're here for more than just the big gains, although they are nice, but we see the true Satoshi vision. We've drunk that Kool-Aid, and Bitcoin and other supporting altcoins represent an alternative to the banks that have long sought to oppress and profit off everyday people. And in our eyes, or my eyes, XRP sits on the opposite side of that fence. That's how I feel. So for those reasons, I have never held any, and I never will. There are other ways to achieve life-changing wealth in this market, I feel. But that's a personal choice, and that's why we always tell you, our listeners, to do your own research. We're here to give you the news with a dash of our views mixed in, and we'll no doubt continue to follow this XRP story very closely over the coming months and years, because we know we've got some XRP army folk out there. Got a really nice picture in the Facebook group. Thanks for that one. So I think let's move on now to our next story, boys. Now, one of the quirkiest stories we've seen in a while. Justin Sun, the founder of Tron, just spent $6.2 million on a banana duct-taped to a wall. But wait, it gets a little better. He then ate it. This surreal mix of conceptual art, crypto and marketing had everyone talking the last week. So let's break it down a bit, Craig.
Yeah, so Justin Sun, he is people calling your excellency because he's one of the funniest, quirkiest people in the space. He's an entrepreneur. He's the founder of Tron. He's got USDD, he's got a stable coin. He's also got Tether on there. He's honestly one of the most wealthy people in the space. He's only 34 years old.
He looks like he's about 16 though. He looks so young.
Yeah, he's early 30s, but he looks 16. He's like, gives me like rich villain vibes.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, so he buys this art piece, a banana taped to a wall. He's thinking, imagine the amount of free PR I'm going to get out of this, right? So he's got $9.4 million for a banana, or $6.2 million US, probably made 20 million in free impressions. So he buys it, then he holds a press conference, and then when all the cameras are on him, in typical showman fashion, he walks up to the wall. We'll probably put a link in the show notes, untapes the banana, eats it, and everyone's just going crazy. You know, it made local news stories, even in Australia. Crypto entrepreneur eats $9 million banana. So yeah, very funny and one of those moments that you only get in bull markets.
What do you think, Blake? Does it make people take the industry seriously, or is it just a bit of a laugh and showmanship?
This guy obviously has too much money to be paying $6.2 million for a banana taped to a wall. But Justin Sun is a strategic guy. He's a smart guy, and he doesn't do these things just for giggles. And that's really highlighted through his recent investment into World Liberty Finance. He gave $30 million to the Trump family-owned DeFi project, and he is now being selected as an advisor to the project. So he obviously positioning himself in order to have the Tron blockchain utilized, or one of his other products within the World Liberty Finance ecosystem once it gets off the ground.
But look, this is what he's involved in, ready? He's involved in things I didn't even know about, ready? This is what he's... Justin Sun, he's a Ripple Labs advisor since 2013, founded Tron, launched TRX token, he acquired BitTorrent, which is that torrent we used to get movies from. He acquired Polynex, the exchange. He's a shareholder in Animoca Brands, which is like the metaverse and games like Sandbox. He's the largest individual staked Ethereum holder. He obviously owns Huobi, which was, I think it's renamed to HTX. And now he's involved in World Liberty Finance. So this guy is just got his fingers in so many pies and one of the all-time crypto personalities.
All right, well, look, there you go. Genius marketing move from him. Something different from Justin Sun, a very expensive banana snack. Okay, boys, let's move on to our fourth story really today, and it's kind of a similar vein. Let's dive into what could be a spectacular comeback to the crypto world of NFTs, with the market cap climbing to $8.8 billion, up 17.3% in just a week, for the November sales hitting 562 million. NFTs are regaining a bit of momentum. And this is the big guys, from CryptoPunks and Bored Ape Yacht Club to Punchy Penguins. These big guys are leading the charge on Ethereum, which is remaining dominant. So let's have a look at these numbers, Craig. What's going on?
Yeah, well, I think the last month, Ethereum has had its best month in a few years. And I think with that, the Ethereum ecosystem has risen with it. We've seen coins like Uniswap going up. And the NFT space, these guys like Bored Ape Yacht Club, Pudgy Penguins are all, even CryptoPunks are all. CryptoPunks saw a 400% surge in trading volume last month alone. Now, it's pretty incredible how much like down only the NFT market has been. Only now we've seen some of it heating up. What do you think about this, Blake? Do you think this is just a symptom of Ethereum, or do you think there's actually legs in some of these projects coming back?
Well, I think what happens in a bull market is that people take some profits from the blue chip coins and then they speculate with them on NFTs, on meme coins and other risky assets. And I think that all boats rise in this environment. So it doesn't surprise me at all. But are they going to get back to where they were when NFTs initially launched? It's really hard to say because it was very, very frothy back then.
Well, look, while some NFT collections are enjoying that resurgence, it's not good news for the space all round. Just seen an announcement yesterday from Nike that could signal a not so good shift. They are pulling their brand. They had RTFK. It was announced in 2021 with that Swoosh platform. and they're winding that back now, and it will be no longer. So that's Nike pulling out of the NFT space.
That could almost be a bottom signal with Nike pulling out after 2 years of getting poor results.
Okay.
I think we saw some crazy raises all those years ago, Pudgies, Bored Apes, and you really wonder what they've done this whole time. And if Bored Apes, they've made that game where you have your ape and you go into this metaverse, like that whole vision that we saw previews of last cycle, if that comes to fruition, who's to say that we might not come back?
Yeah, well, they're all trying different things. We know that Pudgies are they're talking and teasing out some kind of potential token drop, and we've seen them, that's got the increase happening. So,
and some big partnerships coming from Pudgy Penguins, I hear.
Yes, so we've heard we've got to keep an eye on those Pudgies. Everyone keep an eye on it. Jump on the X. But anyway, look, the NFT market is clearly heating up. Like I said, I don't know if it can really get back to where it was, but with these blue chips rising up again, it's something to keep an eye on because there's always something interesting happening in the space.
Yeah, and I just want to talk about something interesting, like especially with Pudgies. So the whole Pudgies collection market cap, it's around $400-500 million. And when I heard that, I thought some of these meme coins, Dog With Hat goes to $3 billion. These other ones go to $1 billion, and they're literally just a meme. And I think Pudgies has millions of followers, billions of views on the GIF website. They have toys in Walmart. If you own one, you can use it in IP. And I think that seems cheap to me since meme coins have had such a good run.
You know what? It's funny, yeah, you say that. I keep getting notifications of people trying to buy my Boss Beauty, I said to you yesterday, and I went and had a look at what the floor price was. And I looked at what the total collection was, and I was like, I could just buy that total collection now. They used to be $1 each. I could just click and buy the whole collection. Like, it's unbelievable where these have gone. Let's have a break now on that, and when we come back, we'll go to our short, sharp news bites. Welcome back to the Crypto Curious podcast. Time now for our short, sharp news bites brought to you by the Bamboo app. But before we do, can we just take a minute to get real with you, our amazing listener? That's you. And we're asking for a solid. If you enjoy listening to the show, can you take a few minutes to write a short review on the Apple Podcast or Spotify or wherever you're listening to us right now? Because it really does make a difference for us. So there you go. That's the shill over and done with.
Yeah. And we should also say welcome back to all of the listeners that are returning to the podcast and the new listeners, because I think over the past month, we've had something like a 50% increase in our listeners.
Percent increase, yeah. So maybe those people that dropped off over the bear market and came back, or the news listeners that have found us. Yes, so hello, welcome to the show if you are a new listener and you've hung out to the Short Sharp News Bites. Who's up first? Craig, you want to cherry pick?
I'll go first. So Brazil proposes a national Bitcoin reserve. So there's a congressman, he has introduced a bill calling the Strategic Sovereign Bitcoin Reserve Bill, proposing that 5% of Brazil's $370 billion reserve should be allocated to Bitcoin. Now, I think these are going to be a common thing with bills going to the floor across the world in my prediction. It's going to start a bit of a nation-state race to accumulate Bitcoin. So let's wait and see, because this is crazy stuff.
All right, well, I'll go the next one then, because in the same vein, there was another article saying many countries are actually eyeing off these national Bitcoin reserves, because obviously Bitcoin nearing that 100,000 mark. We've got the US obviously looking at it. We've heard from many people over there looking at this 200,000 Bitcoin annually over 5 years. We've got Poland now, the presidential candidate there as advocate for this Bitcoin reserve as part of a broader push to make Poland a crypto-friendly haven. And also Russia legislators proposing adding Bitcoin to their state treasury. That is despite some opposition from some officials there as well. So you are correct. But obviously we want to mention too that El Salvador, who were the pioneers here, they're celebrating $100 million in unrealised profits from Bitcoin's reserves, which they established back in 2021.
Meanwhile, Germany paper-handed their thing at the bottom.
Yes, let's hopes and prayers for Germany.
Next up, I think this kind of speaks well to the previous news bite, where the Bitcoin balances on cryptocurrency exchanges can be tracked as a metric to understand or help inform us how healthy the ecosystem is looking. And what we're seeing at the moment is that there is very few Bitcoins on exchange. And that means people are buying them, they're taking them off, and they're putting them in cold storage. And this can lead to a supply shock. And there's two things that really determine the price of Bitcoin, the supply and the demand. And if you're increasing the demand as we get more retail investors coming into the market to participate, as well as less Bitcoins available to purchase, it can create a dynamic of upward price movement. So this is an interesting metric to follow, and we haven't seen these levels since early 2021. So I think it's important to point out.
Look, at the risk of not wanting the show to run too long today, we're going to leave it there. There's probably a few more short, sharp news bites that we could do, but what we'll do is we're going to put them in our Facebook group. So if you're not a member there, go ahead and jump into our Crypto Curious Facebook group, and I'll put a few more bits of news in there for you. There'll be loads more news for you next week, so make sure you join us again then. Any parting views, boys?
Everything's bullish. Everything's going crazy. If you've DCA'd, just chill. You've done the work.
And also, if you have made a bag on XRP, no one went broke taking profits.
Celebrate the sells, I think.
Celebrate the sells. That's it. All right. Thanks for diving into this crypto world with us today. Until then, stay curious, stay connected. You can do this by joining that Crypto Curious Facebook group we mentioned or our Instagram page. Be sure to hit the subscribe button where you listen to us now so you get a notification for next week's show. If you're looking to dollar cost average into the crypto market, the best way to do it, use the Bamboo app. There's a link in the show notes below. Don't forget to use the code CURIOUS. You'll get $10 of free Bitcoin to get you started. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.